Here we are in Ramsgill near Pateley Bridge, North Yorkshire. Frankly, we might as well be in the middle of nowhere. I'm working on this beautiful holiday cottage. Trouble is, there's a major problem with this job. Absolutely zero water pressure. Now with the water supply this useless, there's absolutely no way it could run a pressure washer. But I've got a cunning plan. My name's Paul Driver, I'm the owner of JetReady. We're known for exterior cleaning and restoration services, and we specialise in unusual jobs in the countryside that nobody else will touch. We've got a concrete path which leads down the front of the building, really dirty, grimy, slippery, horrible. Not very inviting at all for a holiday let. To the front we've got this seating area with York stone slabs, slippy as can be and completely overgrown with weeds. I mean, look at all this moss. Look at the state of this patio. And the back door to the kitchen, absolutely minging, and these steps are incredibly dangerous. And look at this lot. No other word for it. It's just filth. Let's just see what the flow rate is. To calculate the flow rate, I simply measure how much water comes out of the tap over a 1 minute period. Just 3 litres a minute. That's really bad. Now the tank on my van holds 500 litres of water. At 3 litres a minute, it will take literally 3 hours to fill the tank. And if the pressure washer is going flat out, I'll use all of that water in about 25 minutes. And like I said, there's a lot of work to do here, and I expect I'm going to be here for several hours. If you're asking what the plan is, I've hired a standpipe from the water company, and my plan is to make multiple visits to a site a couple of miles away where I've located a water hydrant. So whilst driving up this morning, I actually went past the hydrant and I stopped to fill up. So I've already got 500 litres of water on board, which will give us a head start. So despite the water pressure being absolutely pathetic, believe it or not, we're actually adjacent to a reservoir. And according to the water board, there's a washout hydrant somewhere near the dam. Right, should be somewhere around here. Let's get out and have a look. Goothwaite Reservoir. The hydrant should be around here somewhere. It looks like there's some major work going on here. Apparently the hydrant's at the roadside somewhere. Something over here. So here it is. The cover has WO on the top of it, and that denotes washout hydrant. That means I'm allowed to use this. If it was a fire hydrant, I wouldn't be. Let's see if it works. They don't always. We're in business. A bit wonky. Right, we're full. That took 10 minutes, so that standpipe is working at 50 litres a minute. So even if I need to do multiple trips today, that's not going to be such a hardship. So with all that water on board, the van is literally right up to its maximum weight. I've got double leaf springs fitted at the back, so the handling and the ride is pretty good all the same. To make the water go a little bit further, I'm going to reduce the flow rate a little bit, and I'm also going to make use of the boiler and hot water. That'll give me a lot more cleaning power than cold water alone. The first area I'm going to cover is this lime rendered wall. It's covered in biofilm, absolutely filthy, and not at all a welcoming entrance to the cottage. Firstly, I'm going to apply some chemicals to address the staining, and then I'm going to coat it with a biocide treatment to give it some long-lasting protection. Got some new filters for my respirator. Even with occasional use, you're meant to change these every 4 weeks. Now my reason for doing that first is it's going to take quite some time for that stain removal to work, and in the meantime I can be getting on with the main clean. I'm going to use the turbo all day. There's so much moss and weed growth here, nothing else will do. Blimey, so much moss and sludge. I've only done about 9 square metres there. Got a bucket full already to get rid of. Oh, and by the way, we've already used just over half of the water, about 250 litres. Right, we're out of water. So perhaps just restating there, about 15 square metres, 500 litres of water. Granted, it was very dirty, lots of moss, but it just goes to show. Right, off we go. Now just wait 10 minutes for that to fill up, have a bit of lunch whilst I'm here. Opportune time just to talk a little bit about how the hydrants work. Most of the water companies in the UK have a partner called Aquam, and Aquam hire out standpipes on behalf of the various different water companies around the country. So how it works is that you hire a standpipe and then you pay an additional charge for the water that gets used. You can hire them for a week or a month. There are some exterior cleaning companies that have them on permanent hire all year round. The sort of people that are doing street cleaning works or perhaps commercial work and that kind of thing. The standpipe itself is quite sophisticated. It's got some electronics built into it which measure exactly how much water you have. It's also got a GSM chip in here, so it calls home to tell Aquam how much water you've used. And another clever little feature is that they've got a GPS chip built into them as well, so they know exactly which hydrants you're using them on, exactly where you've connected and for how long. And the reason for this is that they can monitor it very carefully to make sure people are not taking advantage and using fire hydrants. So what's the difference between a fire hydrant and a washout? So obviously the fire hydrants are for use by the fire services, and they are actually by law in charge of those particular hydrants. There's a second kind of hydrant though called a washout hydrant. Now these are used by the water companies. They're typically at the end of streets and that kind of thing, and they're used for actually flushing out the water pipes after work has been done, to get rid of any discoloured water, any silt, to clean the pipes out if you like. Now it's perfectly legitimate to use a washout hydrant for pressure wash, provided that you've hired an official standpipe. If you plug into one with one of these standpipes that you can buy off eBay, you are breaking the law, and understand that the penalties are really quite high if you get caught. Now in order to actually hire a standpipe, you've got to do an online qualification called, I think it's Calm Network Services. I'll put a note in the comments about that. You have to pass the course and they send you a certificate, but you need that qualification before you're legally allowed to use a hydrant and a standpipe. For this job, a bit of a pain. I'm probably going to have to make 3 or 4 trips for water, but it's only a couple of miles down the road and they do fill up pretty quickly. And whilst this job is really dirty, it's not a particularly big job. Ordinarily I'd allow half a day to do this, but I've quoted for this as a full day, and I'm also billing the customer for a week's standpipe hire as well. Right, we're all filled up, get back to the job. you can probably see, I've got drainage problems down here, so just going to attach to the mud sucker, see if I can send the water over onto the flower beds. Right, more water needed. Just got back now with the third tank of water. I'm having real fun and games with this patio area to the front. It's just not draining at all. And moreover, the water that is standing there is just full of mud. You get this a lot where you've got raised flower beds. The more you rinse it down, the more soil washes down through the stonework from the flower beds. And it's a real problem. Just got to keep plugging away. At this point, I'm starting to get a little bit frustrated. Soil keeps washing down from the flower beds and the drainage problem isn't getting any better. All I can do to clear the mess is alternate between rinsing down, sweeping and using the mud sucker, all of which is taking far too long and wasting the limited water supply. I think that's as much as I can do for the moment. I'm just going to let this drain now and see what happens. Well, I had a bit of a late start today, and as you can see, the daylight's starting to fail me. So I'm just going to brush on some product, and that will give this concrete pathway a deep chemical clean. Nice early start, heading back to Ramsgill. Got a little bit of finishing off to do. The previous evening it had become too dark to film, but before leaving I put some product down on the York stone slabs and left it to work overnight. By morning they were looking all the better for it. I also made a start on the Indian sandstone patio to the rear of the cottage until darkness eventually forced me to call it a day. Time now to get it finished off. staining on this lime rendered wall has more or less gone. There's a tiny little bit left near the gutter at the top there, but I'm not too concerned about that because it will biodegrade. What I'm going to do now is just give this surface a light pressure wash prior to applying some biocide. The biocide will sterilise the wall and any surviving biofilm will just biodegrade and fall away. And that will include all of these speckles of lichen that you've got here. Right, I've got a bit of the biocide solution left over, so I've diluted it down a bit further and I'll just use this up on these flags and this dwarf wall. Put my spray attachment on, it'll be easier than using the brush there. Well, there we go, we're all finished. And despite the obstacles, I've got to say, it's turned out really, really well. So this lime rendered wall to the rear of this entrance was as grim as can be, really heavily stained with biofilm. I've cleaned all of that off and I've applied a biocide treatment. That will start a further self-cleansing action and the wall will get cleaner and cleaner and cleaner over time. This Indian sandstone patio was a real mess, caked in algae, as slippy as could be. Frankly, really dangerous. It's completely safe now. And I've got to say, these flags look absolutely beautiful. This passage down the side of the building had moss everywhere. It was really horrible. Just look at it now. To the front of the building, which is south facing, these York stone flags were in a real mess. A lot of that's down to the bad drainage. But all in all, it's been a really good job to work on. And in a strange kind of way, oddly satisfying. So until the next time, all the best to all of you.